It's the county conversation, and this week, joining myself, Cameron Ponsonby, and Nick Friend is Leicestershire CEO Sean Jarvis. Leicestershire have been experiencing some of their best seasons on the pitch in recent years. Last year, they won the One Day Cup, and this year they reached the quarterfinals of the same competition, narrowly missed out on the quarterfinals of the T20 Blast, and are in with a shout of promotion to Division 1 in the County Championship. What's more, in the last 2 years, they've produced Rayan Ahmed, England's youngest ever Test cricketer, and I've just seen the teenage giant Josh Hole called up to both the red and white ball squads. But off the field, a large part of why we're getting Sean on today is that things aren't so rosy. In an open letter, CEO Jarvis wrote that whilst we have a very loyal and supportive fan base, the numbers are not sufficient for us to deliver our ambitious plans and continue to strive for more trophies. I'd go as far to say that if we do not see an upturn in membership, the future of the club could look very bleak. Sean, first of all, thank you very much for joining us. And second of all, it's a very strong message you've put out. Kind of what are the current concerns and situations at Leicestershire that prompted you to write the letter?
Cameron, Nick, it's great to be on, and thank you for inviting me on. I'm going to pull you up on one thing though, Cameron. In your
preamble, I was going to as well.
Preamble. You did mention quarterfinals,
semi-finals.
Semi-final. Do you know what's even more embarrassing? I'm bloody working the game. So I was working it. Oh, goodness me, Sean, I can only offer you my most sincere and humble and deepest apologies.
I will let you off. On this occasion. Don't worry.
Thank you so much.
I was with you. My eyebrows went straight up.
After years of pain and suffering at Leicestershire, we take every quarter-final, semi-final there is. So we've got to celebrate it. As you can see behind me, this is my front room at home. So I've got wallpaper, Metro One Day Cup wallpaper. Coming to your question, Cameron and Nick, I think I'll just start with the cricket. The change that we've had here at Leicestershire it's been a real quantum leap. I did a bit of analysis very recently prior to COVID, where we sat as a club. It was my own analysis on where we ranked through cricketing performances and how we'd performed in the competitions, and we were the perennial bottom club. We were finishing bottom, not qualifying. It was incredibly tough, and it was quite embarrassing to read those stats, if quite honest. And what COVID did would give us the opportunity to press the reset button and then actually work out, well, what's our DNA? What's our strategy? How do we go forward? And I've done the same thing. I've analysed then what our performances are since that period. And the original one, we were ranked 18 of 18, no doubt. In fact, we were probably a gulf between where we were on 18th to 17th. Now, if I apply the same overlay, we've jumped to, this is in my analysis, to about 12th. So the trajectory over that period of time demonstrates where we're headed as a club. And you're quite right. You mentioned Rayan and Josh, which we're incredibly proud of. I also want to mention, Rishi Patel was in the England Lions setup. And rest assured, we've got another couple kind of knocking on the door in our pathway, in our academy, that I think have got incredibly bright futures. Now, it kind of links back to that letter, that the open letter I kind of published through social media and the local press. If we want to progress as a club, we want to continue on this trajectory that we're on, then we need investment into this club. It's got to come from somewhere so we can reinvest. Now, the membership pricing is all one part of that strategy to generate additional income into this club so that we can really start to realise our dreams. Let me make it perfectly clear. The long-term future of Leicestershire County Cricket Club is actually really quite bright. The plans, the visions we have, what we do in the academy, both on and off the field, are really quite bright. But there's a bit of a bumpy road for us to get to that point. And there's, decisions we've got to make sure we're on the right path. So my plea really was to sort of say to the people of Leicestershire, well, if you really want this club to now kick on, go on another level, instead of being 12th, be 8th, be 6th, be 5th, be 1st, we need that investment. We need the people of Leicestershire to come out and back this club. The ECB, time and time again, will reel off a number of stats to me about Leicestershire, where we perform in certain league tables that they have at ECB Towers, and we're right round the bottom, and that for me is unsatisfactory. Now, how do we break that? How do we get out of that? It's very, very difficult. Loads of different tactics. There's not one silver bullet, but the membership is part of it. And what I'm saying here is quite frankly, my costs have all escalated. So people of Leicestershire, if you really want us to continue to go forward, to carry on this path that we've now set ourselves on, then come out, back us, get behind this club. Now, people have come out and sort of said, well, it should be cheaper for that. Well, we tried that in the past, and those figures have not made any significant change to Leicestershire. So right here, right now, I guess it's a bit of a crossroads for us. Come out, back us, get behind this club, because we know what this club can be delivered. We've worked hard for 3 years to get the cricket pillar, what we call the cricket pillar within our club, right, and quite exciting. And we're excited. I don't know if you've seen, we've announced that Ian Holland has signed for us permanent now. So the calibre of players that want to join us as well, but we need investment for us to continue. And that, it's as simple as that, really. I'll get off my lecture box now, but, we need those people to come out and back us.
Can I ask on that? I was watching the interview you did with the in-house interview you did on Fox TV a couple of days ago. Yeah. I think you mentioned 850 odds adult members, and you talk about doubling that. I guess my question is, I don't mean this flippantly. Like, where are those people? Like, have you pinpointed them? Are they people that are out there, or have been affiliated to the club in the past, or are they the new wave of the new generation of Leicester supporters that you've tried to reach out to the last few years? So I think no one could accuse you or Leicester of not having tried things the last few years. Are these new people, or are these people that are there but are just not investing at the moment?
I think it's all of the above, to be honest, Nick. We know the people are there. We hear people talking about Leicestershire. I think the chatter around the city now is very different to what it was 5-10 years ago. People are starting to actually believe, and I think that's been one of the challenges, is that in their DNA they're kind of used to being the perennial bottom club, and actually winning a trophy, competing at all levels, is a little bit alien. So I think that membership, that supporter base, is getting familiar with that. Is starting to understand that. So the conversations we're hearing are really positive around the club, which is encouraging. Now, again, no silver bullet, but our foundation, we've worked hard over the past, I would say, 12 months with Balu Patel as chair, Namita as our MD of our foundation. They've, if you like, taken a step back to try and go 2 forward. So I'm hopeful that in the coming years, we'll start to see bigger community engagement in Leicestershire County Cricket Club. We're already having conversations now about doing different things, and we want to do that. We want to push the boundaries, excuse the pun, but that's what we're about. But it ain't easy. This is a very tough gig, and we've got to convince people that this is a great place to come, a welcome environment with great cricket. And we've spent a lot on that, on the ground, developing the ground. Still a lot of work to be done, reaching out to community projects around the the city, trying to engage with them. Rome's not built in a day, but I genuinely believe there is an appetite and interest in Leicestershire. But it comes back to that question, for us to really kick on, we need investment. We need money into Leicestershire County Cricket. We are probably of the counties one of, if not the worst, with regards to our facilities. We don't have a hotel. We don't have a gymnasium on site. We struggle. We've got. I was at Somerset for the semi-final, and I was jealous of some of their facilities and what they've done, and their audience is very different to ours. But I do believe if people of Leicestershire support the club the way they talk about Leicestershire, then come out and support us and help us get to where we want to get to.
I guess Somerset are an interesting example, because in a way they are a kind of sort of a one club city. In a way, I mean, whereas by contrast, I think you've in the past sort of you've offered discounts to Leicester City fans, Leicester Tigers fans, tried to try, as I said before, sort of tried a lot of things. Is there, I don't know, like how I might be barking up the wrong tree here, but how difficult is it to convince match goers to become members? If that makes sense. Like, are you guys more reliant than a lot of other counties on sort of pay on the gates tickets from city-based fans? Sort of like, you were based near Grace Road, people who come because there's cricket on, rather than people who come because they're members. I guess you've worked in football. I mean, it feels to me like there's quite a big difference between a football season ticket and a cricket club membership. Would that be fair to say, that whole on the gate ticket versus the overall membership?
Yeah, it is, and the weather has a huge factor in sort of decision making process of individuals coming to a game. You look out your window and it's cloudy or likely to rain, it will put you off walking up to the match. Whereas in a football game, irrespective of the weather, unless it's -30, generally you get football fans will go to that game. So
once you've got people there, though, once you've got people through the gate, how do you turn a match goer into a member, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's not easy. That's about continual engagement, encouraging them to be part of what we have got here. And one thing I do like about cricket is the experience that you get when you're here. There are pockets of communities around the ground that not too dissimilar in football, but it truly is a great atmosphere to sit there and enjoy and chat. And our players are brilliant. They interact with the fan base brilliantly. After every white ball game, they'll come out, they do a signing session. There is all that interaction, and feeling part of the fabric of the club is huge within cricket. And we want to do that. We want to encourage more and more of that. And I think it's just getting people to come and be a match purchaser, but then convert into that member and think, right, you know what? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to back this club. I'm going to be part of this journey that the club is on. Very, very tough. Very, very tough. And if you compare us to, say, Somerset, I was looking at their demographics, and Somerset is a 2 professional club county, and you've got obviously Somerset Cricket Club, and then you've got Bath, Bath Rugby Union. And I think I looked at the journey from Somerset to Bath, and I think when I Googled it, it was about an hour and 15. Well, you can be at the King Power Stadium within 2 minutes, and you can be at the Welford Road with Mattioli Stadium in 2 minutes also. So we're competing against disposable income as well, which makes it really challenging. And I've got a very successful football club on my doorstep. I've got arguably the Manchester United or Manchester City of rugby here as well. So we've got to compete, but we've got to work with them. And it's about building that fan base over a period of time. One flick of the switch, I'm not going to get hordes of people walking up. I do hope that winning the trophy last year, what we've demonstrated this year, that people come out and go, do you know what? They're doing some good stuff. We'll back them. We'll support Leicestershire and the county.
In terms of, we've mentioned kind of disposable income and people having to basically put their money where their mouth is to an extent. just for the prices. So last year, club membership, which got you club membership plus T20 cricket last year was £215 at Leicestershire.
Yeah.
This year it's £275 for the early bird and £350 for a normal. So that's an increase of £125, £135 if you were to buy at the normal prices.
Yeah.
That has received some criticism.
Yeah.
What is kind of what would you say to those who have criticised the increase in prices?
Yeah, I get it. And I get the pain that they are suffering in terms of those prices. I totally get it. But it's kind of, my question is, what is it you want? You know, if I look at it from an operational side of the club, there are costs that have escalated here at Leicestershire County Cricket Club. And we will be no different to a lot of other counties in a similar sort of ilk to us. And I could reel off electricity and food costs, all those sorts of, the ground maintenance, all those sorts of costs that just go on and on and on. Now, we've got to pay for those in some way, shape or form. So the membership is part of that strategy. It's not the sole strategy. It's part of that strategy. Let me give you a little bit of a stat. My membership as it sits now accounts for just over 2.3% of our total income. 2.3%. Okay. That's got to increase. That's got to increase to help this club progress. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we've tried cheap initiatives and it's not had the material impact we would have hoped for. So we've got to be realistic. Now, the other factor is we're going to have, and it's our choice, but we're going to have 6 or 7 women's games here held at Grace Road next year, dedicated purely to them. Yes, we'll have double headers, but they're going to incur costs. Who's going to pay for the food? Who's going to pay for the groundsman? Who's going to pay for the stewards? Who's going to pay for the cleaners that do the changing rooms? All those costs just continually add onto the cost of the club. Now, if we don't meet those costs, this is where the future could be incredibly bleak, and nobody wants that. And we'll do everything we can. So everybody has got to feel a bit of the pain in what we're trying to do. And I'm sure we might talk about our experiment around streaming. But we've got to explore all those little revenue streams that can help Leicestershire County Cricket Club be financially viable. I get it. I get why people are upset by it. You know, it affects their personal circumstances. But it's interesting. I was looking the other day in terms of where we compare. There are still 5 or 6 other clubs that are more expensive than us. So, you know, that's just where we are and the economics of Leicestershire. As I mentioned, I don't have a hotel that's generating me a huge amount of money. I don't have a gymnasium on site. I don't have a pub on site. All these different factors are making it hard, the economics for Leicestershire County Cricket Club. So we've got to work out ways in which we can survive and thrive. And sadly, you know, one of the ways to do that is increase on the price on the membership.
It strikes me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it strikes me you're potentially offering not so much a kind of match day ticket voucher, but you're advertising an investment. You're advertising the chance for the people of Leicestershire to be invested in this kind of program. Is that a fairer potential description of what this process is? Yeah,
I think you're right, Cameron. I think the reality is that where do you want Leicestershire to be? Do you want us to be the perennial bottom club? Well, we could do cheap membership and still trying to get commercial deals that help us, but incredibly tough. So what we're trying to do now is change that narrative. And what we're saying here is to the people of Leicestershire, come on, now's the time to back this club. We've hopefully demonstrated, and I think, as you said, the past 3 years, and look at the players that we're producing, look at where Leicestershire has gone from to. Now, you imagine we get a bigger investment into this club, whether that's through additional sponsors, whether that's through increased membership, however it may be. And rest assured, I'm not just sort of saying, right, membership, you give me all the money and the commercial team can sit. Far from it. The commercial team have got to get out there and they've got to get sponsors. They've got to hold concerts here. We've got to generate income. If we can build that revenue into the club, we've proved what we can do the past 3 years. Imagine what we can achieve if we have that level of investment. Now, what I will say is that if we do get that level of investment and we fail, it's fair game. Come and criticise me. But give us the money, back us, so that we can kick on and really get back to some golden days that we've had here at Grace Road.
Right. Elephant in the room.
Go for it.
The 100. So we're talking about investment. We're talking about how membership represents 2.3% of your income. There is a potentially mysterious, currently unknown number that might be landing on your doorstep in the next time frame we don't know.
Yes.
So now we're very clear about what might or might not happen. Basically, 2 questions. As the CEO of a non-100 hosting county, kind of what are your emotions about the potential sale? And 2, how much can you build this potential windfall into your plans? As you're saying, like the immediate future, the short-term future of the club is looking precarious or looking difficult to get to the intended long-term future.
Yeah.
So what happens if this money doesn't arrive?
Correct. You're absolutely right. I think, can you rely on it? No. What do I think? I think it's an interesting strategy. There's unless you tear up the rule book and start again, then it is what it is. We've got to work our way through it, and you need pretty much 75% of the clubs to sort of turn around and go, let's tear up the rule book. Me personally, I inherited the 100 when I came as chief exec here. It wouldn't have been the way that I would have done it. I think the T20 was a better vehicle to try and achieve that, if you like, franchise cricket. Now, if it actually goes the way that we are being told that it's the way it's going to happen, then financially that could be great. Could be a cash injection into not just us, but all those counties that arguably need that cash injection. I think cricket outside the 100 is probably at maturity. In other words, there's not going to be a right lot of additional investment coming into the club, into the clubs. So this is a vehicle to try and generate investment. We are trying to make it so that we are not reliant on the 100's money. One thing Leicestershire has is 11.5 acres of land. So we're looking at how we develop Grace Road. That means income can come into the club. That then means I can keep my membership fees and price tickets at a reasonable level. So, but that doesn't happen overnight. That takes 5 to 10 years to deliver that. What I can give you is a bit of an exclusive. We're kind of in that process where a pre-app's gone in for a phase 1 development of Grace Road. Now, how long that takes and whether that gets rejected, whatever, there's all that process to go through. But we're beginning that process. So as Leicestershire, we'd love the 100 money to come into the club to help us develop, to help us progress, spend the money wisely. But we're not reliant on it. As you've sort of alluded to there are a lot of unknowns. Where is it going to go? Nobody can really tell me. And I'll be honest, I stood up in an ECB meeting with all the chief execs. I said 2 things. And one of them, both of them probably still resonate. I need convincing that the 100 is going to be a long-term benefit for the game. I still need convincing. Yes, I get we need money. All clubs need an injection of cash. I get why they're doing it. I get how it can be probably a global, exciting project. Get all that. But I need convincing to this day that it is the long-term protection for this game. That's the first thing. Second one, I've said this all along. This is our Premier League moment. So don't cock it up. Let's get it right. Let's make sure we protect the game in the right way. Now, how we do that, it's incredibly complex. I've been privy to a lot of meetings, and there's lots of different opinions and this, that, and the other. Where I kind of see it, I think you can never take away Leicestershire's opportunity to win every single competition. That's why we're a sports club. I want us to win the T20. I want us to win the One Day Cup. I want us to win the County Championship. I want us to win the 100. Right now, I can't do that because it's franchise. But if we are going to change the model, allow Leicestershire that opportunity. And I don't care if I'm in Division 4 of a 100 competition. Give me the opportunity to get to Division 3, to Division 2, to the top division to win it. Whatever it is, do not take that away from Leicestershire. And so it's incredibly complex. It's a kind of worms as well that could go everywhere. So I'm worried. I remain to be convinced. There are some great stuff in there, but this for me is our Premier League moment. Let's get it right. Let's make sure we get it.
Is there, in my head, I'm imagining that the 10 non-100 hosting CEOs have a little WhatsApp chat together. And when you say, we don't need this to survive, we can be reliant without it, is that a common theme? Or a friend of mine asked me the other day, kind of a guy who's vaguely interested in cricket. He went, so I've heard cricket has to sell the 100. And then he said, why? And I didn't know how to answer him. I was like, it's one of the biggest questions. In theory, I'm a cricket journalist, and I did not know how to answer the question. Yeah. If counties such as yourself aren't reliant on it, why does it necessarily have to be sold? Or is it the case that you are in a position of relative strength, whereas your fellow CEOs are going, without this money, we are going to disappear?
You nailed it, Cameron. I think I can't speak for the other counties. We're fortunate in the sense I have a good safety net with our ground. I don't know. I can't speak for the likes of Derbyshire and Northants, Worcester, Essex, Kent. You'd have to ask them their situation. And
I'd enjoy it if you'd given their financial breakdowns. That'd be nice. Essex have this much. Well, you're not going to believe what's happening at Derby. You don't want to know.
Be a great message on the WhatsApp group afterwards. Lads, I've just been on a podcast, and you'll never guess what I've told them.
So I don't know, but I think if we were in a different position, if I didn't have that safety net of the ground and what we can do with the ground, you do kind of worry. You do kind of go, well, if we are just to remain purposeful, to remain competitive, then we need a cash injection, and that cash injection, the 100 may be the vehicle to create that cash injection. So I don't know the answer, Cameron. I think from our perspective, I've just got that little bit of safety net and the opportunity that we have that I think is why our longer term future is definitely bright.
Sean, you mentioned streaming earlier, and I guess my question, my first question on it really is, you've called it a trial, you've called it an experiment. I think everyone gets twitchy when anyone talks about paywalls in any strand of media. Like, is this? I don't know. Is there a right long-term approach? Because I guess it strikes me as there are three main ways that counties seem to go about it at the moment. You've either got paywalls, which obviously you're trialling, which Kent have trialled in the past. Getting a headline sponsor, which I know some have got behind them that brings a bit of money. And then you've got the third option, which is sort of the holistic. You almost treat the streaming service as your marketing platform to try and get people to come down and try the real thing, as it were. Like, where do you sit with it? Is it as simple as saying that this is a trial that is born, in no small part down to having Ajinki Rahane with you for a few weeks, and therefore a good opportunity to see what the potential is, or is this your sort of favoured of the monetized options?
Yeah, I think probably a combination of all of those, really. I think my personal opinion is there should be a central location where supporters, members, fans of cricket can actually buy a central pass, a monthly pass, to dip in and out of cricket, whether that be red ball or white ball games, and they should be located on each of the club's websites. So, for example, if you were to pay, I don't know, £10 a month to watch through Somerset, you would then get access to watch Leicestershire, Derbyshire, whoever it might be, through that platform, so you can hop in and out of the games. I think that there should be a central platform, and I think the data around that central platform could be huge. And I mentioned this to the ECB, but it seems to have fallen on deaf ears. There don't seem to be, at this moment, an appetite to do that. So
would that make you guys money though? I mean, like if every club, I understand where you're coming from, because if every club has their own streaming system, that means you've got to pay to watch every single game individually. That's what's the problem in itself. But if the whole game charges £10, do the individual counties actually make money on that in the end?
Yeah, well, you can do. It could be you monetize it by the numbers of people that are actually watching. So it's a bit like the FLI model, the Football League model. Yeah. So you've got all that data in there. You've then got central advertisers that then could be split across the 18 counties.
Sorry, can we just? I don't know what was that model? The FLI model.
So it's a model that was done probably 25, 30 years ago, maybe even more, whereby all the clubs signed up to a deal with the Football League. That then they had this streaming service, and what their fans of the streaming service did was then paid like £5 a month to watch their games on the streaming service. So if you were a Wolverhampton Wanderers fan, you could watch that and see all additional content, but it'd be very similar across all the different clubs. So it's a central model that's been created for all the clubs to deliver, almost like a TV channel that runs across all the websites, but you pay for that privilege and you get content. That's how I think it should be controlled in cricket. Now, what the Football League do by monetizing that is all that data, collective data, they can actually sort of say, well, 10,000 people are watching Leicester City, 50,000 are watching Birmingham City, whatever it might be. And then they can sell a central location on that to an advertiser that's hitting all these different individuals, all bespoke. So it's a very clever digital platform that generates income, not just for the clubs, but for the game as a whole. And I think that's where the ECB have missed a trick from the COVID period. And it's become free. So it's become second nature to people. We accept it's free. Well, there aren't any other sports out there, major sports out there, that get free to air. Even the Olympics this time round, there was a subscription service for some of the sports. So I think it's where we're headed. I'd love the ECB to grab it and create a single central platform for all counties to sort of use that we can generate income. But there doesn't seem to be that appetite there. Now, I've then had to go, well, I've got to experiment with this. And rest assured, this is an experiment. And you're right, Ajinki Rahane, somebody who's got nearly 10 million followers on his Instagram. Well, if we just had 1% of those people signing in, that could equate to £250,000. Now, I was very open and honest with the numbers. And there's no pressure on Ajinki. That's not at all what it's about. It was an experiment to see where people kind of would they be prepared to pay? What do they feel about it? I think for us, if we can get, and this is pressure from me as chief exec to the commercial director, get me a sponsor that covers all the costs. If we can do that, then I can deliver it free. Maybe it's part of the membership package that I include next year. They're all kind of factors that I need to take into consideration during the close season. But it's sadly, it's for, again, club like us, not sustainable to be paying for this service. It's just costing us money. So somebody somewhere has got to pay for this facility.
Can I ask, just out of interest on Rahane himself, like, have you seen, Leicestershire have had great Indian overseas players in the past, the Sehwag, Kumble, in recent years, across the wider county circuit, enormous interest in Pakistani Indian overseas players, almost particularly the One Day Cup the last couple of years. How much has Rahane being here shifted the dial at all? Have you seen, much tangible, whether in streaming or even sort of attendances on the day? Have you sort of found much sort of South Asian engagement, particularly in with him?
Yeah, certainly the online, the streaming part. When it was free, we saw a shift of people tuning in when Jinka was
150,000 views. I wasn't on the Surrey game.
That's right. So tuning into that. So then, if that was to be monetized, imagine the impact that could have.
Of course,
now, it didn't. So that's okay. We've learned. We've understood where the market's at. Locally, we've had more interest in Leicestershire County Cricket Club as a consequence. I wouldn't say it has shifted the dial, but we've seen increased interest. But Jinka is just one part. We recruited Jinka because of his talent as a cricketer, not because he's a South Asian player. This is about the cricket team. And Jinka is just one part of a whole multitude of layers of different approaches of how we communicate with the audiences out there. We're an incredibly diverse city. I think the last census said something like 56 different communities that exist in the centre of Leicester alone. So we've got to work out how we communicate with all of those different communities. Not easy. Very, very difficult.
Just one more question on the streams. You kind of mentioned there that there was the kind of 150,000 clicks on the Surrey stream, which isn't 150,000 kind of people watching at the same time. It's people who kind of tune in over the course of the day, and that didn't then translate to kind of numbers you're hoping for when it was paid for. Out of interest, like, how much does it cost a county to run a stream? Because it feels like a what's the word? Not a contradiction, a difficulty, a problem that's the sport is facing. In that, on the one hand, we discussed 2005 and cricket moving off Channel 4 and the problem that the sport has had with it not being in front of eyeballs. Then on the second hand, we want counties to keep putting this out for free, but if it's costing you X amount of money that you don't have, where's the solution? So just basically my question is, how much money does it cost you to run the stream?
I guess the crucial bit there is to do it well, because there is a broad spectrum, isn't there? And that's how much it costs you to do it well is
that's the point. And ours, I don't mind saying ours was rough and ready, and we got some criticism for that, and I don't mind that, and that's all good feedback. You're talking upwards depending on how far you want to go. We want to create a studio, which we've kind of got a little bit, but we want to do more with cameras. You could go anywhere 30 grand upwards for a year, and how far you go is entirely up to you. I suspect the Lancashire model is a lot more expensive, and that's the point. If it's do you deliver that? Do you take the hit of, say, 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand, and try and get people profile numbers up? And we've seen that. We've seen that when we had India here as a warm up for that final test game at Old Trafford, I think it was. And we saw huge numbers that were watching, and that's great. That's brilliant for us to say. But has that had, in the 4 years that I've kind of been chief exec, any material significant impact impact in finances for Leicestershire County Cricket Club? Not really. Truth be known, not really. Yes, profile, but financially, no. So you're right. It's about finding that balance. Now, if I'd have got 10,000 people buying streaming to watch Ajinka and Leicestershire in the quarter final here at
semi-final, I was away.
No,
I was away. You got it wrong twice here.
I knew I was wrong, but I still took the risk.
Somerset made a point of it being free, and that's fine. But I will reveal that Somerset also said to me that they're looking at how they charge for streaming going forward.
Got two exclusives. There we go.
So there you go. So yeah, but when we did it here, had I got 10,000 people paying $3.99, well, there you go. That I would have been able to turn around to our membership and go, do you know what? There you go. There's 40 grand that's coming from one, but it didn't. It didn't bring those numbers. So we've learned from that, and the way we go forward, we're still debating and still talking about it.
To end the episode, I want to kind of talk about finish on a happy note, basically, in that, and something I hadn't quite been able to put my head around is there is this kind of general discussion about kind of doom and gloom around everything county cricket related, and we're talking about the minutiae of finances. We're talking about the difference between kind of 1,000 and potentially 2,000 people paying 200 quid a year, and which is 2% of your income, etc. But whilst we're discussing this, you are adding a tier 2 women's team in the coming years, and you are also embarking on a £60 million regeneration of Grace Road. So let's start with, how do those two things go together, where you're able to kind of fund and develop this, have this plan, and two, how is it going?
Yeah, no, it's two great questions. I think we're changing the narrative of Leicestershire County Cricket. It comes back to that original point. This club has come a long way in a short period of time, and has still got a huge amount to do to get where we want to be. We want to be one of those clubs that people are envious of, and I know one or two are starting to look over their shoulders at us now. Now, we want to develop women's cricket. We want to win whatever trophies in front of us, whether that be male or female. It's in our DNA in Leicestershire. We're not going to focus on white ball cricket. We're not going to focus on red ball cricket. We want to win everything that's put in front of us. Some might say, well, that's daft, that's churlish, whatever. But that's just in our DNA. That's just how Leicestershire kind of operates. And it's no different for the women's game. So we moved about a year ago. We moved our women's setup from the community pillar of the club to the cricket pillar of the club, so it could start to become more professionalised. Like I sort of said, I was incredibly disappointed, and that's a whole new show. I think if you want to have a chat about my opinion on the tier 1 process, but anyway, we'll leave that aside.
We've got time next week.
Yeah, we're tier 2, and we accept that, and we'll crack on. But I've already told our team I want to get promoted in 4 years' time. So we've got our targets. Now, in terms of the ground development, there's a £60 million project here, but you can't eat an elephant in all one go. So you've got to do little bite sizes, and we're starting with phase 1. And I think, as I mentioned, the pre-app has gone in. We're excited about it. We've got some significant individuals that are working with us to make that a reality. So I'm hopeful within 18 months to 2 years that we'll see a spade in the ground, and Leicestershire will continue to evolve and transform into a successful, financially viable cricket club. You've got to have that vision. You've got to have that view. You've got to know where you're heading, and we all know that where we're headed. It's just the path that we're taking right here now is, success is not linear. So right here, right now, there are some challenges that we're facing and we've got to work on. So who's going to help us with those challenges? And that comes back to the membership, the corporates out there, the people of Leicestershire. Back this club, get behind this club and help us deliver, be part of the journey, help us deliver things like this behind the back. We need as many friends as possible to help Leicestershire kick on, compete, and then be a team that we can really be proud of here in this county.
Well, Sean, the way I see it is the stream went behind the paywall and then the pre-app got approved. So in my head, you've raised 60 million quid from it going behind the paywall. Genius. It's happened. But Sean, no, thank you very, very much for your time today.
No, thank you so much.
That's a pleasure.
To get an understanding of how Leicestershire and how the game is working at this current point in time. Nobody, this is the little ad read I get to do at the end of the show. I get very excited. Nobody covers county cricket like the Cricketer, and you can get access to our coverage of all 18 teams online for as little as £3.99 a month. Paywalls everywhere. Can't move for it. Our own top team of county champions have now won the Outstanding Online Coverage of Domestic Cricket Prize at the ECB Domestic Cricket Journalism Awards for 6 years running. So you don't have to take our word for it. Sean, once again, thank you very much. Nick, thank you very much as well as ever. I've been Cameron. It's been Nick and Sean. It's been a wonderful time, and hopefully see and speak to you again soon.
Cheers, fellas. Thank you.